Hi, this is Steve. Welcome to yet another episode of The Walk. I guess we can call this COVID edition. Yes, although I am in an area which I am trying to be hundreds of feet from anyone, I have COVID. I contracted it again, second time, on almost precisely the 1 year anniversary of my first getting it. When I first got it, it was moderately obvious that it was probably a certain person where I worked whose kids kept coming back from school with positive tests and false positive tests and negative tests, but they were still positive and their situation was never really certain. This time, I was running sound for a show for about a whole solid week with a bunch of kids. From literally young kids to teenagers at a youth theater show, and that all went fine and it was all good. But pretty much by that point, neither I nor any of them really were wearing masks anymore. And what can I say about, well, yesterday morning I got the result that I had it. That's largely because Wednesday I went and got a swab for that and a flu vaccine because I thought, well, I must have just gotten the flu. It was definitely something that was bogging me down. I thought initially I was just fatigued from the show itself and all the effort over the week prior. But no. Oh, and to add insult to injury, after getting the notification Thursday morning that in fact it was COVID, after my tests Tuesday evening had come back negative. Anyway, I also got another indication that the other swab for flu had detected rhinovirus, which aka is a common cold. So apparently I have a head cold and COVID. Anyway, so much for that. I'm up to date on my vaccines and boosters and everything. This leads me to a very deep, dark rabbit hole that I'm pondering how far to go down in this little journey that we're taking right now. I hope you can understand me with my mask on. You can't read my lips and there is a wind blowing. So we'll see if this turns out to be on the video. It might. I think that I like, and I don't think I'm alone in this, facts that are from trusted sources and can be counted on. I want 2 + 2 to always equal 4. I want the sun to always come up in the east and set in the west. I want everything to be sort of that way. I don't want, when somebody says something is some way or isn't some way, I take that as correct, usually, and say, okay, we'll go on that basis. Ever since COVID started in the US, and however it started and whatever happened with all of that, there's been even more criticism of every policy, every person, every authority. I have friends who are rabid anti-vaxxers. I have friends who have not taken any vaccines or boosters and are literally more or less making fun of me because I got it despite the fact I was vaccinated. And now, of course, my doctor says, well, we never said you wouldn't get it if you were vaccinated. We just said that it would lessen the severity. That's not what I remember hearing. But that's getting right at the point I'm trying to make here, which is, I guess, the main point of the whole video here. That with science and research and things that we're trying to find out about, especially things that we have to make a whole lot of decisions on in a hurry, like a pandemic, we tend to latch on to somebody who is allegedly an authority figure, some of us do, and say, okay, that's the vetted source, that's the expert, let's listen to what they have to say about our conduct and what we should be doing. And others, especially in this day and age, it seems like inevitably, no matter what it is, immediately find ways of discrediting whoever is the authority and coming up with their own authority, which in turn the first side discredits and says that they're just some alternative source of non-news with an agenda to sell things or sell themselves or get fans or audience. So this battle rages on and on and on and on. And what's a poor person to do? Well, this poor person got his shots, tried to follow guidelines, became somewhat lax, and took COVID twice now. To be fair, even though I have some respiratory and breathing issues and everything, it did not put me in the hospital. It's about like a bad cold with a fever occasionally. And the fact that I'm feeling good enough to be out here walking around doing this rather than resting in bed like the last 2 days indicates I'm probably pulling through. And that's good. Generally speaking, this is my opinion now. Let's draw brackets around this. My opinion is, I guess, that you follow generally accepted, vetted guidelines. You don't try discrediting every source that comes along just because they might not, or just because we somehow feel that this is the part that bothers us the most. We somehow feel we have to discredit and go against and disallow anything that anybody says to us. Go back to deconstruction and questioning authority and a couple of other videos that I've done previously that just talk about the fact that you cannot say anything is anymore without either people saying not exactly, or it isn't so, or it never was so, and even the people themselves that say things unequivocally, especially if they're politicians, I might add, are likely to go back, cover their tracks a year or 2 or 3 later and say, that's not precisely what I said, when it was precisely what they said. And then everybody who agrees with them said, oh no, I don't think they ever really said that. As in, if you get the shots, you won't get the virus. Whereas other people will say, see, didn't do any good, did it? I just find myself caught in this conundrum a lot in life anymore as an older person. And I just ponder this deep rabbit hole, dark rabbit hole, as to is everybody now doomed to only have their own news sources, their own truth? Have we deconstructed everything to the point where there is absolutely no possibility of ever having a consensus or agreement on any policy, any guidelines for behavior in dealing with disease, in dealing with conduct? Or have we just devolved to the point where everybody has to just decide absolutely for themselves with no outside input or only their preferred spoon-fed from the internet outside opinion on what is true? Again, people don't like the fact that science continues to evolve. I don't like the fact that something is stated as true 2 years ago isn't true now, or isn't quite the same truth, or not quite as what we said. I don't care for that. Most people don't care for that. So I think I've probably rattled on quite too long about all this, but my point is, I think we would be better. We're always better off dialoguing, which is, I guess, the point of why I'm doing this monologue toward y'all on YouTube. But I'd welcome comments. I'd welcome suggestions. I always like to dialogue and see if there is any consensus that can be come to regarding all of the above, and how shall we then live together in peace and kindness toward one another. Signing off for now.